Oh yeah, sure. I guess we're just waiting for Connor and Joe to start their game.
Okay, everybody. So this is Eric Hunter. He has graciously decided to do commentary for everybody today. He says he's off. So I'm going to be stepping out, Connor, as we will be streaming Joe Olson versus Connor Britton, both games back to back, and it looks like they're ready. So go ahead. The floor is now yours.
Thanks, Dan. Looks like we have Joe on Thrawn, and we have Connor Studley on Watch Your Step. I don't think I've actually seen Connor play Watch Your Step before, so I don't know if this is something that Joe had on his radar. Joe starting alert my Star Destroyer and/or shield, and do they have a code clearance? And Connor starting with I must be allowed to speak Smuggler's Blues, Walkling, and Squadron assignments. Now, one of the interesting things, I think a lot of Thrawn decks are playing Kessel to help them get out Thrawn on turn one if they're not getting the activation they need from the light side player. And Watch Your Step will just go ahead and replace that and get rid of their text. So it looked like Joe pulled Grand Admiral Thrawn only. So he still has a second activation with Endor Shield. That might mean that he already has. I assume that he's playing Admiral Hazel and Admiral Mahdi. So I don't know if he's has both in hand already, or if he's just decided that he wants to keep an extra pull available for himself. Let me get into the
Why are you here?
just getting into the Twitch stream. So he's revealing Ozzel from hand, so he already had it in his hand. And I also apologize. I had some food delivered, so I'm going to have a couple bites. Yeah, the Thrawn deck is a very popular deck in Open currently. We've been seeing it a lot in the GEMPC, and then we were also seeing it in the recent Jawa tournament. I think both players, people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think both players were playing it in the finals. Yeah, I think Watch Your Step has, it looks like a couple more people have been playing it recently. So Joe just starts off with Ozzel and the Avenger to Kessel. I'm sorry, to Kashyyyk. He's threatening a drain to 2 there in the next turn. A little curious why he didn't go out with Thrawn on turn 1. I think the Chimera and Thrawn. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think he would have had enough to play it on turn 1. Yeah, that's probably the most likely reason. It'll be interesting to see if Joe slow plays his Kessel in the hopes of maybe converting it to get rid of the drain bonus. I'm just going to double check that the light side Kessel doesn't have a replacement text or something. Well, opponent's game text, the watch your step objective cancels the game text on Kessel system for the dark side player. So you can never take advantage of the deploy minus. But the ability to draw or not would come up. And does it? Counterplaying control tunnel vision. This is a lot of force to work with on turn 1. I'm not entirely sure what you'd be looking for though. So he does go to Tatooine. He's going to get another use pile pull with his effect there. And he just draws a couple. So he is power 5, and with wild card's ability, he is going to be drawing Destiny. With wild card ability, his total battle Destiny would be +1. I could see Joe wanting to attack into that. I mean, he has to be worried about the barrier that he's representing, that Connor's representing. So Joe goes ahead and plays Kessel. Game text is canceled. And he does go to Tatooine. We see the barrier. Looks like Joe lets that through, does not grab. Looks like Joe's going to revert to just double check what's in his yeah, I mean, he wasn't going to get more than one battle destiny at Tatooine, but he was still going to overpower him by quite a bit. So is for the people in the chat, is code clearance a typical starting effect at this point for Thrawn? I'll admit that I'm not current on the latest list. And for any of you who are watching and do like to check out the latest lists, the Star Wars PC website has all the most recent lists for the most recent tournaments, which is a great resource. Okay. Yeah, when I was last playing Thrawn, which was admittedly some time ago, I was using code clearance over IAO. A little, let's see. Oh, I see. So Joe also, before making that move, he pulled Hellion with the Avengers text, which allows him to deploy an Imperial with armor aboard, a captain or Imperial with armor at -2, and he pulled Hellion from his reserve deck. So he deployed for 1. If he had him in hand, he would have gone to the Chimera because he deploys to Thrawn's location for free. But because of Paleon, Oswald now forfeits for 6. Paleon himself will forfeit for 8. You also imagine that he has a lost in space, so that whoever he loses, he can just keep on the system. If I'm Connor, unless I have a very specific combination of cards, I would not be looking into battle into this. My Power of the Hut version, I don't know, it was all right. I think it was it's probably less good now, because before there was more light side decks that a collision's a great card. I'm a big proponent of light side playing collision. But yeah, with the Power of the Hut build, you could actually get out Mitt, or so Thrawn on turn 1, regardless of whether or not the light side player was giving you any icons. But ultimately having that extra destiny was a little bit better. I can never seem to get people to play collision though. So it always seems to be one of the first cards people cut from my list. So we have Han coming down on the Falcon to Corellia for a total of 3 force. Corellia game text making Corellians in the freighters deployed there at deploy -1. Which is this also flips watch your step for Connor. I imagine Connor would also want to go to the Cantina this turn. I don't think he's going to want to stay at Tatooine, but if he's going to other systems, he's going to, and he already has battle plan out. I think you'd want to go down to an interior site so that he can start satisfying battle plan. If I'm Connor, I will be a little nervous about how I sequence. Yeah, so he goes with Melas to the Cantina after adding Theranet to the Falcon. Adds Wedge to the Cantina as well. If I'm Connor, I'm going to be a little bit worried about sequencing this movement here. You always have to play around Gravity Shadow. And so he should move with a wild card first. And then if Joe blocks the movement, he can support with Millennium Falcon. So we're playing Kessel Run, which deploys on Kessel. It's a little bit different than the non-virtual version for those of you who aren't familiar. Deploys on Kessel, and then you draw destinies until you draw greater, the combined destinies you draw are greater than 12. And then you move a smuggler there, and during move phases, you get to remove one destiny at a time. And once there's no more destinies, you get to retrieve 4. So it takes 5 destinies, which is pretty low. Anakin's lightsaber being one of the destinies. That's I don't know if that's a card you commonly see in Watch Your Step. So the Falcon moves, and then the wild card falls. Yeah, if I was Connor, I would have just done that in the opposite order. But Connor's now threatening, and so during his move phase, he gets to put one of the destinies down. You put all wings reporting down, just put a destiny 5. Joe activates, and Connor follows up with an escape pod. Takes a Hujix. Oh no, I knew it played on Mara, and I knew Mara would potentially see play, especially for the use pile pull from the effect. I just wasn't sure if Watch Your Steps game plan on the ground was in fact to use a lightsaber. So Joe 4 strains for 2 at Tatooine. In addition, Connor will have to lose a force to Thrawn's art collection. He loses the 5. He loses Dash Rendar from reserve deck and all wings. If you're Connor, so Dash is one of those cards that I think Watch Your Step can. It's usually playing one of for a lot of the. So Joe just played. I'll return to that thought in a moment. But Joe just played Intensify the Forward Battery. The relevant text here is at sites related to systems you occupy, your non-pilot warriors deploy -1 defense value +2 and are forfeit +1. And so now Joe's going to play a lot of troopers who are warriors and not pilots, and they all deploy -1. This is a version of Thrawn that I've seen a little bit recently. Trooper Davenport comes down for free. I believe, is that picture of him in the cantina? I don't know if anybody here knows. Stubbly plays, I've got a really good feeling about this. And activates to activate 2 force. Now showing 3. If you're Joe, I think you're now thinking you might have to deal with it's a trap. Yeah, it's Trooper Cadet, which is deploys free the same side as the leader. But I guess he's just deploying him for 1 instead. Otherwise, oh no, I guess he would deploy free even with Goldenrod. And Stormtrooper Patrol to add 1 power to each of his troopers. Presumably he has a Trooper Assault in hand, so he's representing an even 25 power. So we do have the battle, we do have the Trooper Assault. Stubbly grabs, no longer has the force for it's a trap, has 2 force, and Stubbly does have the Hushik in hand. But he is trying to Destiny. Wedge's forfeit is currently 8, and Melas is currently 6. So 14 plus the 5, 19. So Joe's up by 6 power plus the Destiny to the 2 Destiny in terms of overflow. $13 plus 14, 27. So looks like you would only peel 2 here. And if I'm Stubbly, I'm going to do that instead of playing Hujiks. Joe doesn't have to lose anything. He's all his troopers were immune to attrition. So going back to a moment, we saw that Stubbly had lost Dash Rendar off the top to a drain, and Watch Your Step doesn't typically double up on certain smugglers. I think there was some way back in the day, I thought it wasn't uncommon to see 2 Miraxes. But Dash is one with how strong he is on a ship that you could potentially seeing 2, but if that's only 1, that's a huge loss in terms of what Connor can do in space. So Joe does move over both ships. If you're Joe, I think you'd actually want to consolidate all of your pilots onto 1 ship. The reason being that Captain Gillian's game text provides that other Imperials aboard the same capital starship are forfeit +2. So he's not extending that bonus to Thrawn. And if you have a Lost in Space, ideally you would just forfeit Thrawn for 9 and then get him back. But with his hand being as low as it was, I think he had more reason to want to draw up cards than try to. Looks like both players have been letting each other take back reverts regularly for unactivating or looking again at the reserve decks, which is always nice to see. Right there, Stubbly used activated 1, used Walkling to grab Unita, which is going to let him get back Wedge here. Flashes Wedge to squadron assignments to get a matching ship. Oh, that's good. Good point, Shaw. We did see one control ton of vision earlier, but yeah, I think in a later turn, if Joe has the force for it, I think you'll see the people consolidate. So Wedge comes down to flip again. We do know that he has control tunnel vision and lost pile, as well as a all wings report in combo, which would let him substitute a destiny to get around Imperial Command. Just to and he plays from Lost Pile the control tunnel vision. I think it's pretty uncommon to see more than one control tunnel vision in a watcher step. So if you're Joe at this point, I think you would be comfortable playing Lost in Space. So Kira comes down, and Kira's got some neat text, which is that when she's forfeited at the same location as Han or Voss, you may satisfy all remaining battle damage against you. She doesn't satisfy attrition, but while flip, she forfeits for +2 because of the Watcher Step objective, and then additional +2 from talent card. So she'd be forfeiting for 7, and if that can satisfy all attrition, her ability would allow him to satisfy any excess battle damage as well. So Luke comes down to join Wedge. I wonder if Connor thought at all about going to Lothal instead of the Cantina. Just to get the drain of 2 on and to avoid being next to all these troopers who could potentially move over. That it would be expensive if they were moving on their own. So end of Stubbly's turn, Joe plays Imperial Command, grabs Admiral Body V. Connor has 1 force saved. He's already used a grabber, so he's representing a barrier here. I do think Connor was, I guess he needed to flip so that he can get an extra battle destiny. He does so. And to start, yeah, I'm wondering why Connor decided to flip there. He can't actually play another interrupt with Lost Pile with be as a useless gesture. It would be too forced to play one. And it does get him an extra battle destiny in space, but he has to be expecting command. So maybe he has all rings report in hand already. So Joe drained for 2, Connor lost his trap, and it's a hit. Mahdi comes down, Thrawn comes down, and they're all, and here's the barrier on Grand Moff Tarkin. I think you still battle here if you're Joe. Yep, and we see the command. So Joe played one end of turn, previous turn to grab Mahdi, played one this turn. Connor is limited to 1 battle destiny. Neither of them have an action, so they're going to battle destiny draws. We see a 4 for Joe, and then a 3 for 35 power. And Connor draws a 5. It'll be +2 total, given wildcards text. Joe wins the battle, so Connor has to stack a card on the artwork. I think if I'm Joe, I just lose Mahdi here. He does represent 6 power, but I think you'd want to preserve the ability to forfeit Gilead. Yep. And then if you're Connor, you can just forfeit Kira. Satisfies all the attrition and all, but we have the loss in space. But Stubby will be able to just lose Kira, and that should satisfy. The loss in space is was a very cool card to play. It's been around since Dega, but just never really saw that much play. And then but what it does is it allows you to stack a pilot that was just forfeited on the system, and then as an immediate effect, and then that pilot can be rescued or captured by a capital starship present. And it's really found a home in Thrawn, and it's kind of cool because as far as I know, it was never really played before, but it's been around forever. So Joe draws a ton. And before that, we saw the second to last Kessel Run Destiny get placed and used. So Connor will be able to complete the Kessel Run on his this move phase, and that'll allow him to true 4. I think that's 1 short from having him. Yeah. Okay, so dash is 1. There's Rio, and then I think it's dash in the last file. So in addition to retrieving 4, the other noticeable thing is that Han Solo says that while piloting Falcon and you've completed a Kessel Run, he adds 1 battle destiny, and opponent generates no force here. So Joe is now only activating 12 a turn to Connor's 15, and a battle of Kessel Lightside would have 3 battle destiny. So after completing the Kessel Run, Connor force drain for 1. Joe canceled it with strategic reserves. I gotta say, I would have been tempted to not cancel that force drain to kind of save that for a force drain 2. And then on the deploy phase, the Thrawn objective flips. Since Thrawn is out of battleground and 2 artwork cards are stacked on Thrawn's art collection. Not previously mentioned, but Connor has been careful about losing cards with certain destiny numbers to get stacked on Thrawn's art collection. Right now he has only 2 Destiny 5 cards, which Joe wished he could, with the objective, use to give himself power +3 in a battle. So Lebo comes down. Falcon moves away, Wildcard moves away. Lebo is a good one. He his text provides that if the light side players completed a Rykar's run or Kessel run, opponent loses 1 force during each of your control phases. Stubbly shuttles down Talon card. And proceeds to draw. So Joe's got 8 in hand, 22 in his deck, so 30 cards, and Connor's got 26 down and 6 in hand, so he's got 32 cards. It's one of the, if you're playing troopers like this, you're putting a lot of cards down. So even though Joe's got the smaller loss pile, he's actually behind in cards currently. Oh, that's a good point on the so the effect, I must be allowed to speak Smuggler Blues. The final sentence provides that opponent cannot cancel or modify force drains where you have 2 smugglers. So that's a good point. Probably why he canceled it, or was more willing to cancel it. So Joe force drains for 1. Somebody else has to stack a card, another artwork. Loses a I'm ready for anything, another Destiny 5. Very careful not to lose from Life Force, because he doesn't want to stack a Destiny 3 or 4. Drain to 2 at Cantina. Connor did have it's a hit in his lost pile, but he retrieved it with Kessel the turn before, so he didn't have the luxury of playing it from lost to cancel the force drain. This is Mirax and Mara Jade. So Joseph's moving to his move phase. He follows. Decides to leave the troopers where they are and decides not to ship dock the capitals and try to consolidate his pilots onto 1 ship. Maybe matters a little bit less now, given that he's used the loss in space. It's typical only to see 1 in a deck, and it's very unlikely he loses Thrawn at this game, and all the other pilots are with Gilead. But if you're going to use if you're going to keep 5 force and use force pile, I think you might as well do it. The other thing is that Gilead gives a additional hyperspace to and immunity to attrition to Chimera. Oh no, that's with a different version. So Connor force drained for 1 and then pinged 1 with Lebo. Not really sure what I would be doing here if I'm Connor. You're tempted to move away. Since you're just really outpowered. Joe would only be drawing 1 Battle Destiny at Cantina. I'm sorry, at Tatooine system, given the light side, the dark side game text on Tatooine system. But he just has a lot more power there. And if Joe has an Imperial command to limit light side 3 Destiny to 1, because he doesn't have Kira there this time and doesn't have Talon card beefing the forfeit, I don't think he's really that interested in battling. One card he has to be really careful about here is a full scale alert, which is it's a really great card in a trooper deck. It allows you to pay 2 force, draw Destiny. If Destiny is less than the number of troopers on table, opponent's movement is stopped for the remainder of the turn. The exception is that smugglers and the starships that are aboard can move. So, and right now, Wildcard doesn't have any smugglers on it. So we see a second Kessel Run. I do suppose that if Joe played Full Scale Alert, he could shuttle up either Wedge and or Talon card and then move Wild card. But then you'd be, if his plan is to have those 3 characters there, that could similarly be uncomfortable. So if I was Stubley, I guess you could also ship dock. But yeah, I would have added that Lando to wild card just to give him some extra flexibility. Connor was able to get Kessel run out with only 4 Destinies this time. It does seem a good play to retrieve another 4. The problem is that when he moves away here, he's looking at another drain of 2, 2, and 1. So Connor is a bit behind. So we do see it ship dock and Theranet. And Han Solo and Lebo. Oh, I wonder if he's going to. Yeah. Okay, so he's going to have Lando alone and probably just return Lando to his hand. This is going to block a drain of 2, and it's going to stop the 1 ping from the Thrawn object or the Thrawn artwork card. So that's a good play on his part. Luke moves over. Probably also played He's the Best Mother Around, which places a card stacked on a useless gesture and you lost pile, and then also allows him to no, just place a card stacked on useless gesture in your lost pile. Oh, he played it for the retrieval. My bad. Retrieved 1 at random, which turned out to be Dash Rendar. Yeah, with Luke in front, you have to expect Connor has either a dodge or it's a trap. But he went from taking potentially 5 if he had moved away to taking no damage this turn. Go activate 7, leaving 2 in reserve. If I'm him, I'm looking at potentially battling at the docking bay. He has 14 cards in hand, still has the Admiral Order. The problem is that he has Tripper Assault grabbed, and so it doesn't really seem feasible for him to beat down at both locations. So I don't know, maybe he just wants to, he could just battle into Luke and force a forfeit or an into trap. Activates 2 more. Looks like he's not going to initiate battle. So Garrison comes down for 5. Alongside a structure per patrol. and Sergeant Tarl. It was 8 force for 17 power, which is pretty good rate. Am I missing? Is there a way for a dark side to recirculate? So he does battle. I think he has to play Trooper Assault. The concern is that if Stubbly then played, it's a trap. Yeah, I mean, if he does play Troopers, all he's 23 power to 4, and if he does draw 2 destinies, like even if they were 2 5s, that'd be 14 to 23. It's a big difference still. I guess he could just lose wedge, but so Wallen comes down for free. He does play Trooper Assault. 28 to 4. So who plays? I got a really good feeling about this to draw 2. He had to do that during the weapon phase action, which means that he didn't have It's a Trap. Draws a 4 and a 2, so difference of 18 power. Wedge forfeits for 10 currently, and Talon card would forfeit for 8. So that would cover. I could see battling at the other site here. All he would lose is the cadet to attrition, to satisfy attrition. Yep, so Stubbly uses Lando's game text to return him to his hand, which removes all of his presence in the battle and cancels the battle. If I'm Joe, I'd strongly consider battling into Luke here. He does have a leader, so he could add additional 3 power with the dark side objective. So it'd be 18 power to 6. He's already gone to move phase though. So the Falcon has 0 power because there's no character piloting it. It's just an empty starship in space. The Lando that we just saw, his ability allows him to return himself to hand once per game if a Kessel run's been completed. So he was in battle, then he returned himself to hand. There's no more presence at the battle. The battle's canceled, and then you have the empty Falcon sitting there. So Joe decides to ship dock here. Gotta say, Joe should have ship docked earlier. Previous turn, he had all the force in the world to use to do that, and this turn he doesn't. Yeah, what do you guys think he should have battled at the Cantina here? Showing 15 power, there is +3 potentially from the Thrawn objective to get to 18, and then the cadet he could forfeit to satisfy all attrition. I mean, even if Luke, draws a 5 there, he's down by 7 power. He would have to lose Luke or 7. I mean, the only thing you're losing is this 1/1 that satisfies a bunch of attrition. So you would have to be worried about like a crackback, but it also would have, if he didn't play It's a Trap, and if he chose to forfeit Luke, he would have been flipped back on this turn and would have had to pay 3 to 4 strain. At Kessel if he didn't decide to move in front. So Joe decides to lose a card to keep the garrison around as its maintenance. It's like we lost connection. Okay, great. Thank you, Dan, for getting us reconnected there. As a reminder, Star Wars CCG has an Instagram account. You can follow at Star Wars CCG for additional content and photos. So Connor activates, loses one, causes Joe to lose one from Lebo. Flashes the dash from hand to squadron assignments. Doesn't find a matching ship. Does check his destinies though. If I'm Stubbly and I have another ship, I'd want to go at the Chimera. But the pulling talent card there shows that it doesn't look like he does. So we missed it with the Gem freezing up there, but Joe lost a force from hand at end of turn, which let his garrison go to use pile. Stubbly deploys 2 onto the Falcon, moves over. So Han Solo's game text only allows Han to add a destiny when he's piloting the Falcon. And so we do see the ship dock. I imagine Han's going to go. We have Lebo go to the wild card. Looks like it was a misclick since Lebo immediately goes back to the wild card. And now Han joins. I'm not sure. I feel like if I'm Studley, I would want Han and then who knows, their net, just one other pilot on the Falcon and everyone else on wildcard. But looks like he wants everyone on the Falcon. So Lebo on wildcard moves over to Tatooine, which is a bit of a surprise. Luke moves over. That makes sense. I think this means that Stubbly has both It's a Hit and a Rebel Barrier in hand. Finishes the second Kessel run. Retrieves 4. Stubbly now has 20 cards in Life Force, 10 in hand for 30, while Joe has 14 in Life Force, 9 in hand for 23. Just going to be able to force train for 2/2 and ping for 1. But again, I imagine Connor has It's a Hit in hand. Bill force trains for 2 at Kashyyyk. Connor loses a Luke from hand. And loses 2 from reserve. Now 4 strings for 2 at Cantina. It's a hit. Joe still hasn't used his grabber this game. I'm not sure what he would be holding it for. It comes down. Oh, that's interesting. Avenger only says there can only be 4 pilots. So I think he's maxed out on pilots already. Lateral damage targets the Falcon, which is pretty big. Doesn't look like Connor has a way to cancel it either. So Joe's outpowering Connor 16 to 0. And that's interesting. I guess it makes sense. So Joe uses objective to add 3 more to the power. So I'm missing this. Why doesn't the light side have why didn't they have 3 destinies previously? They were only showing 2. Do they have to? Is Han? I thought Han just automatically added 1. Joe draws 2 Battle Destiny, added 1 with Tarkin, gives him 27. Simply draws a 4. And does he have? He does not have the Dark Lighter spin, which is very interesting, down by 23. This is Theron net, loses Han, loses Lando. With Talon card and a Watch Your Step objective, all of his smugglers there were forfeit +4. So moves the Avenger over. Now that there's not 2 smugglers at Kessel, you can use strategic reserve to cancel the drain. So that's why I imagine he's okay giving that up. Yeah, I don't know if Joe moved the right troopers over. I would have moved the trooper cadet to continue pairing him with Major Bursk, who's a leader, so that he Oh, I guess his attacks works with a non-cadet trooper as well. That's interesting. Maybe, I mean, I would think you would want the cadet in front of Luke, as that's something that Stubley would potentially battle into, but maybe he wants to keep him at the cantina for the same reason. So we do have the drain to 3, we do have the cancel with strategic, and Lebo's making Joe lose a force. So Connor's has done a really great job of retrieving a force and slowly pinging away, but Joe does have a good port presence. LR's Matic goes to the Falcon, which cancels the lateral damage. Here comes Dash and Outrider to Tatooine. With Dash's ability, the light side player actually would be outpowering the dark side player if they were to initiate a battle. The Watcher Step player would also get 2 Destiny to the 1 for the dark side players. I would be I don't think I would be inclined to battle though, even with that, given that the thing that you would most likely lose is Lebo, who's been doing a lot of really good work in pinging the last couple of turns. So they ship Doc. Dash and Lebo are now in the Outrider together. Oh, this is the other. This is the virtual Outrider. And then the Falcon moves in front of the Avenger. Luke moves to the Cantina. So when Stubley left Wild Card with just Lebo on it at Tatooine with several force saved and it's a hit, it was very apparent that he had a rebel barrier there in case there was another starship. So I think he still holds a Hujix, which he pulled from early in the game. So I think he has barrier plus Hujix for wild card. Which can force drain for 1 at Lothal, which is not the most. Joe is going to be able to force drain for 2 at Kashyyyk, ping 1 with the artwork card, and then also drain for 1 at the docking bay. If I was Joe, I don't know what he wants to grab here. I don't know if he's worried about like it could be worse, but it's a hit that Stubley played earlier feels like it could have been a good target since it also cancels Ellis Hellrot, and Ellis Hellrot we've seen floating around in Joe's deck. So he did lose It's a Hit from reserve deck after playing carefully losing to avoid losing any 3s or 4s. He finally has a 3 stacked. That's also pretty much the worst card. If it was in lost pile, at least Stubbly could have thought about playing it from lost to cancel Elves Hellrot. But now Joe doesn't even have to worry about that. So here comes down the Cadet. Joe battles at the Cantina, and Connor plays Blast the Door Kid to cancel the battle. I don't think Saw is seeing any more play than he normally did. I think this version of Thrawn is kind of a one-off version. I don't think you would. I also don't think you'd be grabbing Hujix. It seems it seems very unlikely that he's even going to get in another big battle this game. Like I'd be surprised if Stubbly plays Hujix at all this game. So Avenger moves in front of the wild card. Joe's going to be giving up a 4-strain of 1 and a ping of 1 from Lebo. Joe has 11 in force pile reserve and then 8 in hand for 19. We'll go to 17 from the drain in Lebo. And Stubbly's at 14 in force pile and 5 in hand. So the card that we really have to look out for this turn is Full Scale Alert. Joe lost 1 from hand earlier, since it's almost unplayable against Watch Your Step. But again, he has wild card alone. He doesn't have any shuttles or ship docks to really take advantage of it. If I'm Stubbly, I'd be looking to move in front of the Chimera to block the drain and the ping. And as soon as he moves 1 ship, I think Joe would want to consider playing the Full Scale Alert to kind of lock in wild card there, forcing the other ship to move. Although I guess he would have to play it before the move step, because otherwise the first action could be to move the wild card away. Though Val can now shuttle up. Outrider moves to Kessel. Falcon goes to the Chimera. At Kashyyyk. And wild card follows. Ship dock to move Talon card into the wild card. And Eller's Madak. Not sure why he's moving both over. I guess he wants the additional. I guess he's giving up 3 power so that he can get an additional +1 to total destiny with wild card, which is not unreasonable. Looks like he has rethought things and has moved back. Yeah, we have about 8 minutes, 30 seconds left for both of them, and a lot of game up here left to go here. The players are now complaining about the amount of time that they have left. Joe plays Elf Hellrot and draws a Imperial Trooper. Did that during the draw phase. 4 troopers are now in front of Val. Neither Val or Luke can move away. Connor still has the Hujiks. If the plan was to grab Hujiks, this is going to be the turn to do it. Joe drains for 1 at Lothal. Only left 1 in reserve. I'm not sure why he wouldn't keep another one. Battles into Val. Plays Blast the Door Kids. Yeah, Lothal City, both interior and exterior. Only excludes the 1 leader, though. Stubbly remarks that that was silly. He still has Hujiks in hand, though, so he can shoot 1 and then play Hujiks. He just burned the Blast Door Kids. Blast Door. Blast the Door Kid, yeah. Stubbly now plays It's a Trap. Looks like Joe's thinking about grabbing it. Decides not to, which I think is the right move. It's going to be 8 force for Stubbly to play it again. Battles into Luke. Plays Trooper Assault. Draws his Stormtrooper for Battle Destiny. Connor draws Destiny 4. It's down by 15. There's the Hujiks, and there's the grab. Whoever guessed that Hujiks was going to be the grabber target, you were right on. Joe consolidates Akashic. Plays resistance. He is going to be drained for 2 at Kessel. Drained for 3 at Kessel, but it'll be reduced to 2, and then he'll take another ping from Lebo, who at this point may be responsible for half of Joe's lost pile. We did see Stubbly lose a Luke from hand to an artwork ping. So there's a chance that he has a third Luke in a hand. Follows up with Connor, or sorry, with Corin. There is a leader there. So Joe can exclude somebody with a Thrawn objective. Connor places Walkling out of play to retrieve a force. Moves the Falcon over to block the drain at Kessel. Sorry, Akashic. To continue to block the drain there. Joe activates all but 1. Forced her into the cantina for 2 force. Is Tarkin's bounty from hand? I'm not sure what card Joe would be looking for. Maybe Imperial Command? Else Helrot? Moves all of his troopers over. It's now 37 power, which is a lot. Battles. Uses the Thrawn objective to cause Connor to exclude one of his characters. Connor's down to 4 power, even with we got 7 forfeit, 6 of the forfeit, 13, 17, even with 2 Destiny 27s. Connor's looking at peeling like 10 force here at least. Draws a 0, misses. 4 and a 5. Yeah, I think Connor's going to have to peel 10 to 12 or 11, 12 force here. Oh, Joe's got a battle in space now. That'll get him the 1 more force loss. What are you doing, Joe? I guess he increases his differential by not having initiated battle at Kashyyyk. Gets to put 1 back. We'll lose 1 to Levo just by losing 1 from hand. This is TD 445, which is one of the cooler looking troopers in the game. And Connor draws up. It's like Joe wins by 10 force with 16 and lost. No, so the Hujix was grabbed earlier. So are they playing? Is there a second game that they're playing now? I'm actually not sure. So I think we're trying to figure out if there's going to be a second game now. But if any of you who are watching need any information on upcoming online or in-person events, keep up to date across all the news and notes of the Star Wars customizable card game by following our X, formerly known Twitter, formerly known as Twitter account at Star Wars CCG. Sorry, at SWCCG. And for those of you who are watching who do not already subscribe to the PC's Twitch channel, make sure to click the subscribe button. If you have Amazon Prime already, you can get 1 free subscription a month and you can use it to subscribe on our channel. You can earn slips for subscriptions of 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months, and then every 6 months thereafter. For further details, please go to the forums, forum.starwarsccg.org. Go to the announcement section and read up on the featured posts on the Twitch subscription incentive program on how to claim your slips.
Okay, so Eric, it does look like they're going to be playing in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I need to sign off. I have a doctor's appointment here at 6:30 Eastern. Uh, let's see if somebody else can at least host you, or somebody else can stream. So I think
Yep,
we're going to
that
sign
sounds
off
good.
right here, and then we'll see what we can do about for game 2.
Okay.
So thanks for watching, everybody.